Hello, I'm JC from We Are the Arsenal. I hope all Gooners that are tuning in now or in the next few moments are very well and happy after, well, a routine win. One for a change, shall we say. A win that was expected of the Arsenal, considering the state Leeds were in. But we'll get all into that good stuff in just a moment. And if you haven't already noticed, we have got a jam-packed panel this evening. There are 5 of us, so lots to talk about. And I'm going to introduce my good friend John to begin with, who's been away from the YouTube team for quite a while now, and it's really, really good to have you back. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, thanks, JC. I appreciate being on. I hope to be on many more, and I hope there are wins. As for socials, I'm on Twitter if you want to follow me at JohnJordan2021. Feel free. I hope everyone in the chat, if there's anyone in the chat at the moment, are well. And yeah, thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure. Next up, we've got Tony. How we doing, mate? How are you feeling after that game?
Spectacular, man. Pretty sure that every single Gooner around the world right now is celebrating this one. This is good.
It was a good win, yeah. Good feeling. And Neil, how are you feeling after today's result?
Bro, I was actually trying to cue some soca music up when you came to me. Just to let you guys know what that win meant, and it meant a lot. So definitely can't wait to get into the topics with you guys.
It's that party feeling. We could have done with a little bit of a bit of a dance. But last but not least, we've got Keith from Mostly Arsenal. How we doing, mate? How are you feeling after that?
Very, very good after that, mate. Going to Christmas 4 points clear of West Ham, and
Yes.
it was job done. Job done. And obviously we'll dig deep into it as we chat along. But very happy with the last few games.
Yeah, we're starting to build a little bit of momentum now, and it's always nice to be in this position come Christmas than the one that we have been in over the last 2 or 3 seasons. But we won't talk about that. We'll try and keep it positive this evening. So, first thing that we're going to jump into this evening is the lineup. We may touch on the subs. I know it's a subject in its own self, in the sense that Arteta hasn't always got it right, but more recently he has, so it hasn't been as much of a talking point, but we will touch on it a little bit. But coming to you first, John, whenever it was that you saw the lineup announced, and an unchanged Arsenal side now for I think it's the 3rd game in a row, what were your thoughts? Were you happy with the lineup? Did you want to see any changes? What were you thinking?
No, when I seen the lineup, I was happy. The only thing, I didn't know if Smith Rowe was going to come in for Odegaard, but at the same time, I think it was right. Let Smith Rowe get in the game gradually, build up fitness again. You don't want to rush him back because he's out long term.
Yeah.
But you don't change a winning team. To build form and to build consistency, stick with the same team, providing maybe 1 or 2 for fitness. But no, I was happy with the starting 11, definitely.
Brilliant. And coming to you next, Tony, when you saw that lineup this afternoon, were you expecting to see any changes, or was that what you wanted when you saw it?
No, the lineup was pretty much what I expected Arteta was going to wind up going with. It's like how we say around here, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's been working pretty good, and that's exactly what I expected Arteta to go with, so I'm glad that he did.
Yeah, I think we're all on the sort of same page with this one in terms of what the lineup is. There's a good comment coming in here about keeping the lineup consistent to keep that momentum going, which is great. Absolutely spot on. Couldn't have said it any better myself. Neil, were there any changes that before the game, before the lineup was announced, maybe a couple of hours before kickoff, regardless of the fact that the lineup was exactly the same as what it was the last couple of games, did you want to see any changes coming into this game? Based on maybe tired legs, maybe poor performances in the last few games, or did you want the side that was selected?
I was happy to see that it was the same set of players, and just to touch on the tired legs thing. We're not playing much football as a club,
Yeah.
so that really shouldn't be a concern. So seeing this 11, I was happy because that means that we have a group of players that has played a few games together and are understanding each other better. So, hopefully, there would be no cause for change, and if the cause is, to swap a couple players out, it's it's definitely a simple swap for like in the midfield or something like that. So I was happy to see it overall.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, I think, as I said a moment ago, we're all in agreement. We've got a very good question in the chat from Vizzy, which we'll get onto in just a moment. Before we do that, I want to grab your thoughts on the lineup, Keith. Would you have made any changes? There were a few people saying that maybe one of the boys in midfield could have dropped out for Sambi, who we didn't find out until quite late on, tested positive for COVID. Saka was another one that people were saying, he deserves a rest. Maybe we should sort of bring ESR in. Would you have made any changes, or were you happy with the lineup?
I don't think I would have done, actually. Same as all the other guys said, if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Yeah.
I said my bit about Xhaka many, many times. I'm sure we'll have a little chat about his second half performance later on.
We might.
As it is, Saka may well need a bit of a break, but he came off relatively early today by Arteta's substitution standards. No, I was happy with it. No complaints whatsoever.
Okay. Well, look, I'm going to come straight back to you, Keith, on a question that's been put to the panel. A little bit off subject of what we're covering tonight, but a good question nevertheless. We've got with all due respect, a lesser opposition, shall we say, midweek in the Carabao Cup. An opportunity to get into the semi-finals, push for some silverware potentially this season, and even a guaranteed European spot. Maybe not the one that Arsenal fans want, but it's a European spot nonetheless. I think Martinelli and Tommy will definitely get a rest. I'll be very, very surprised. But in terms of players that maybe haven't featured that often recently, whether it be fringe players or players that are looking to make a bit of an impression to break into the starting lineup, what sort of changes are you expecting for that game midweek, Keith, if any?
I think we'll see Leno in goal, as we have done in previous rounds. I think he'll definitely be in. You may see a run out for Pepe, like we said before. If he doesn't feature in Arteta's plans, the shop window is very soon to be open, so he needs to be back in people's minds as well. I would have said Sambi, but obviously that's not an option at the moment. You may well see players like, I'd have expected to see more of players like Holding in the previous rounds. He seems to be quite keen on sticking with Gabriel and White for all games, obviously, to build their relationship, and they're looking very, very tight at the moment. Tommy Asu, I don't want to see anywhere near it. If he's, I don't know what the nature of his problem was today, but thankfully he did walk off the pitch, so hopefully it's not too bad. But you may well see perhaps Cedric or someone come in for him, and I think AMN needs to run out in the middle of the park again.
He does.
We've not seen him since Watford, when he was brilliant against Watford in a really, really tough physical
Very
game.
Good.
So we need to see him. Whether it's a case of giving Partey a rest, he's looked better in the last couple of weeks, but I'm talking about resting. Like we're saying, there's no European football. We've literally got the league and 2 cup competitions, so there shouldn't really be too many tired legs. Probably ESR from the start as well for one of the 3 attacking midfielders.
Even Balogun needs a game. Yeah.
Balogun, he's another one. He's definitely another one that you could definitely look at. Got a comment coming in here from Goodlicious. Big up the gents. Thank you very much, my friend. Definitely agree with the first half performance being a very, very good one. Second half being slightly less, shall we say, which we'll get onto. But Neil, there's a comment here from Goodlicious saying it's great to see us playing with freedom without Aubameyang. Would you agree with that? Do you think Arsenal are currently playing with a little bit more freedom now without Aubameyang and Lacazette being that replacement? What are your thoughts on that particular comment?
The flow of the football seems as if the handbrakes is off or down. The way that we've been playing, at least in the first half. Second half is a completely different half, as we could have seen. I'm not sure about if it's like an Aubameyang thing that causes that. I'm not sure why. And sometimes what I feel it is a player of his stature, and this could go for any club. When you have such a young team that has such a high-profile player, or who once was a high-profile player, there's a bit more reliance or looking for approval from him while on the pitch, if you get what I'm trying to say. So they're less hesitant, or they're a bit more free with the ball when they're playing without him on the pitch. And this is just my observation.
Okay. No, it's a very, very good way of looking at it. And he's going to be frozen out for quite some time if everything you read online and in the papers is true. Tony, going to come to you next with this final comment before we move into the next section, which is going to be the meat and potatoes of this stream, where we really sort of dissect and take apart today's game. I'm sure we've all got different opinions on different players and different moments. But just before we do that, comment coming in here saying the biggest hopes is chemistry, which is building up. Do you think Arsenal can maintain top 4 pressure? So, obviously, we've got AFCON coming up shortly as well. There's a few players leaving there. There's a few teams around us that have got games in hand. Obviously, points on the board, as John said earlier, way more important than having games in hand. Genuinely, though, do you think Arsenal can maintain a push for top 4?
Once again, being the complete optimistic fool that I am, yeah, I do think that we can maintain the top 4. Again, I know that this has kind of been a constant struggle for us to compete against the sides that are already top 4. We've constantly, we seem to crack under that pressure. But to be honest, I think there's going to be a stronger chemistry now, because I believe that with Aubameyang's sort of absence right now at the moment, a lot of the younger players are going to be able to express themselves. And they're going to be able to find a certain freedom on the pitch to be able to actually get themselves and to prove their skills a little bit more. Again, as for top 4, yes, I do still think that we can perform. I hate using the term, it depends on what Arsenal shows up. But I believe that if we carry on the way that we're carrying on and we get that consistency as a squad, as we've seen for the past 2 matches, 3 matches, I do believe that we're going to be able to continue on putting pressure for top 4. Absolutely.
Brilliant. It's ours to lose at the moment. I know we've got some big games coming up between sort of now and the new year. Wolves, for example, who have been a real stubborn side in the Premier League this season. They've not let in many goals. City scored, I think it was 7 against this terrible Leeds side at the moment, who are ravaged with injuries, and they only managed to beat Wolves 1-0 through a penalty that was dubious to say the least. I don't know if everyone's seen it. So yeah, we've got some tough games ahead, and I think if we can weather those individual storms, then there isn't any reason why we can't potentially push for it. I know it wasn't where Arsenal fans thought we were going to be come the start of the season, but we're in this position ahead of where we wanted to be, which is always a very, very good thing. So next section here, guys, is match breakdown. As I mentioned a moment ago, we're going to look to really kind of break the game down as best we can and grab as many different opinions as possible. So please do get your comments down below and we'll answer any questions that you do have. Coming to you first, John. The first half was a very, very good performance from Arsenal. The first sort of 5 to 10 minutes, for me, there were a few passes that were going wayward on occasion, a few poor decisions. Really unlucky, actually, not to get a goal through Saka. I think it was on the 3rd or the 4th minute. But rather than evaluate the whole of the first half, in terms of how we started the game, what were your thoughts, and were you happy with the way we started the game, considering how well we played against West Ham?
I was happy the way we started the game simply because of the crowd. Normally when we're away from home and the crowd's up for it, we go into our shell, we don't get out, we let pressure come on top of us. So considering like it was loud, the Leeds fans were up for it, they were buzzing, they knew they had nothing to lose. So I think we started fairly well, considering our away form has been shocking this season. So I'm happy with the way we started.
Yeah, I just, from a personal point of view, obviously we don't have to look back at it now from a negative. Thankfully, we battered Leeds today, which was great. But that first sort of 10 minutes or so, I was getting the same sort of vibes from the Southampton game, where there were a few sort of sloppy passes, but we eventually grew into the game. We absolutely dominated and we beat them comfortably in the end. Coming to you next, Tony, I want to speak about the first goal, which was a great goal to gobble up, considering it was Martinelli, who's in absolutely fine form today. It was not necessarily, I'd say, the best put goal together, in the sense that, I don't know if you guys agree with me, it felt like the Leeds players stopped for a moment after Xhaka was challenged. It was as if they were all looking around at the referee to think, oh, is he going to blow up for a pen here? Then Lacazette put a challenge in, and the Leeds players had stopped again the second time because they thought it was going to be a foul on him. And then Martinelli sniffed out that danger and capitalised. What did you make of that goal?
Yeah, brilliant goal. And again, I think it shows a certain sense of maturity and basically foresight, because he was able to see where the danger was, or rather where the danger was coming from in the sense of that where the Leeds players were at. That mistake that they made, he was actually able to capitalize on it so very quickly, and that was perfect. And it happened not just once but twice. You know, the two mistakes that came from Leeds players, Martinelli was able to capitalize on it almost immediately, and that really helped us out.
Yeah, he was very, very hungry today. I was hoping so much, and I'm sure the rest of the panel you'll agree, we all wanted him to get his hat-trick, surely. At one point in the second half, I think there was a ball from Odegaard where he was pretty much one-on-one with Meslier, and he got there literally a split second before Martinelli did. So I'm sure it will come. The quality is definitely there. Neil, coming to you next. Probably a couple of questions here. Between the first and the second goal, there was a defence-splitting pass by Granit Xhaka for Kieran Tierney, who managed to drive the ball low to the goalkeeper's right-hand side with his left foot. Mm-hmm. But then, for the second goal, it was another really good pass from Granit Xhaka. Excellent bending run from Martinelli, who still had plenty to do. He had pressure coming in from behind him with the defenders. He had the goalkeeper bearing down on him as well. So don't get me wrong, he still had plenty to do. Mm-hmm. But my question to you is, initially, how impressed were you with Granit Xhaka today in the first half with his passing ability, considering the two opportunities that I've just mentioned there? We'll come on to the second half.
Absolutely. That first half with those passes made by him, I was impressed with those. Like, it showed a bit of his national team type of performance, because he plays pretty decent for them. That's, give Jack his jacket. He does have that with him when he puts that shirt on. When it comes to Arsenal, it's topsy-turvy. You don't know what you're gonna get from him. But those two passes, he literally sharpened the knife and he just cut that and split their two banks of four, one ball through, and it was like, okay. When I saw that one that led to the second goal for Martinelli, I was like, what, Xhaka? Like, okay, Xhaka, I see you. It was good. It was good. I was happy to see it. But then when we get to the second half, it'll be a different. We'll
get to the second half.
Yeah.
And whilst we're on that particular goal, what did you make? Again, as Tony mentioned a moment ago, real maturity from Martinelli for the first goal to sniff that danger out and put the ball in the back of the net. But yes, Xhaka's pass was a really good one to put him in that position that he needed to be in. But as I said, he still had to fight that pressure off from the defender. He still had to slot it past the goalkeeper who was coming out. And Melli is a big goalkeeper, big goalkeeper. So what did you make of that finish? How mature he is.
I would say Martinelli has the making of a real top class striker. He has that killer instinct. And awareness of when and where to put the ball, and even the anticipation of where the ball is going to fall. So even the first and second goal more than the first, because he had two players to fight off, literally. Then a goalkeeper coming directly onto him, and he had the awareness to just scuff the ball for it to just tip over to the goalkeeper. So I think he's just top. He's top class, bro. He's young, but in my opinion, he's top class. He gets you Ravens from pretty big and historical players as it is, Brazilian players that is. So something to look forward to in the future.
Definitely. Well, I think his contract's up in 2024, and I heard a few things over the last couple of days say that Arsenal are already starting to have conversations with his agent to extend his contract. Which wouldn't be a bad thing considering the sort of form he's been in of late. Coming to you next, Keith. Again, similar sort of scenario to the question I asked Neil. That there were two instances. There was a high press. I think it was on the right-hand side. Odegaard ended up with the ball in the box. He should have probably have had a shot, but he decided to pass it to Lacazette. I think it was in the 34th minute. Lacazette missed. Really, really unlucky not to get a goal. But one thing I did like about this particular move is not only the high press, but Odegaard's passing and vision more specifically. And that's exactly what happened in the third goal. The vision that this guy has. Did you see the pass, the one that was looked at for VAR for offside? His passing for me today was absolutely outstanding. So, two questions for you, Keith. First of all, what did you make of Odegaard's passing and vision today? And what did you make of that goal scored by Saka? With a bit of fortune.
I'll start with the Saka goal, because originally I thought that was offside. And when they even showed it with the VAR green line, I thought, oh, it looks offside to me. And my initial impression when he went through from the ball was that he was offside. Thankfully, this is not last season, and we got away with it. It's about time we got a few decisions, and we're all calling ourselves Arsenal now. But Odegaard, for me, I'm struggling to choose between him and one other player for my man of the match. My man of the match is not Martinelli, even though I thought he was brilliant. But Odegaard, he had a fair amount of time on the ball, and we've got to remember we were playing against a largely inexperienced side, so I'm trying not to get too carried away. But his vision and the timing of his runs, and you watch the things when you get the opportunity to watch him off the ball. You don't get many opportunities when you're watching on telly, because obviously the camera's following the ball, but you get to see certain little things that he's doing. And when the rumours started breaking about he's going to be the next captain, it's making a little bit of sense to me, because he is a natural leader in a quieter way. He does lead by example, but he does a lot of talking on the pitch as well. And bringing that into his game, as well as his vision and his passing, he's looking really good. And he's got on a run of games now, and I'm becoming more and more impressed with him as each game goes. I was a little bit underwhelmed when we went in for him in the summer, because I was a little bit underwhelmed with his loan spell. But he's still a young lad. He's only just turned 23 or 24.
Yeah, 23.
Yeah, and the fact that he's already a national captain. I've digressed a little bit away from your original question there.
It's because we're excited about him, that's why.
Yeah, I mean, he's very one-sided. He's very left-footed.
Yeah.
I don't see him use his standing foot very much. But I am incredibly impressed with him. He sees things very, very early, and he moves the ball very, very early, whereas other players would take that a little bit longer. He sees things. And I think, you notice with Gabby's second goal, he checked his run a little bit. He started going, then he just slowed himself and still went. And I think if that ball was coming from Odegaard, he wouldn't have needed to do that.
No.
Because there's just that connection is much, much quicker. But I'm hugely impressed with him at the moment.
You know what? You make some really good points there, actually, because we've spoken about Odegaard in the past and how impressed we've been with him more recently than in the past. You know, maybe his first sort of 6 to 9 months in an Arsenal shirt. He's in this run of games now where he's scoring goals, he's finding assists, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the guy still hasn't played in the Premier League for 12 months. The guy is, as you rightly mentioned, Keith, he's literally just turned 23. And if he's managing to read what is classed as the most physically demanding league in the world, and he's managing to find the right pace around himself to find these passes, to score these goals and make these runs into the box, we've got to be excited. It's really, really exciting. And to think, as I said, he's only 23, so something to certainly look forward to. A few other things that were really, really good from the first half that I just want to mention very, very quickly. We had 15 shots compared to Leeds' 4 in the first half, which was a big, big difference. Well, you can, if you're good at maths, you can see the difference between Arsenal's shot count in the first and the second half, which was a big, big change. There is something I do want to talk about in just a moment, because I thought it was absolutely disgusting when I heard it. But we'll talk about it in just a moment. We've got a few comments coming in here from a few people. I completely agree. I'm sure we all agree in this one where we've got to go for all of the cups, regardless. Martinelli and Lacazette, absolute animals, definitely. What have we got here? Like we did in the first half, took the pressure. Game management, all-round game management there. This was the question I was looking for. Right, I'm going to come to you on this one, John, because you've mentioned this already offline between the boys, and I think you put it spot on with the way you sort of described the situation. So how are we feeling about Spurs having 4 games in hand at the moment? Because, you know, there are a lot of Spurs fans out there that I'm seeing on social media who seem to be really, really confident that it's just like they've got the 12 points already in the bank and they're going to leapfrog Arsenal. So what's your viewpoint on this?
Yeah, Spurs have 4 in hand. I think United have 1 or 2 in hand. But for me, it's points on the table. You have to play the games. Spurs think they're guaranteed win, but every year they think they're putting the pressure on, and it seems to go down very quick. But no, you have to win the games. And with us winning, it only puts more pressure on Spurs, United, West Ham, because they're looking up the table at us thinking, we have 4 games in hand, but you've got to win all 4, where we have points ahead of them now, so we can relax. Well, I wouldn't say you can never relax in this league, but there's more pressure on them, to the other teams around us, to now. They can't slip up because we're in good form, and for them it's all catch up. So I don't mind that. I'd rather our games, once the season doesn't get called off fully, I know it's a different subject, but hopefully our next few games get played away, and if other teams get cancelled, I think it suits us because we're on a good run at the moment. Well, we're starting to build something good.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't have said it better myself. Much rather the points on the board, definitely. Tony, I'm going to come to you on this one very, very quickly because, again, you know, when we're talking offline and stuff, you speak very highly of Arteta in the sense of the recruitment that he's done, and it's a very, very sort of young group of players that we have, and it's all about, you know, maybe waiting a couple of years, you know, for them to all kind of mesh together. What have you made of, you know, Mikel Arteta's recruitment? Because, you know, a lot of people were questioning him in the summer, and now we're sat here in 4th, which we would never have even thought of. So what are your thoughts on this comment coming in here?
Yeah, I think it's pretty plain for everybody to see now the youth-oriented direction in which Arteta is trying to really take the squad at the moment right now. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where as Arsenal fans, we really want immediate results. Are we going to get immediate results in a season? No, that's not exactly the most realistic thing to expect from this squad. Mm-hmm. You know, it is a young squad. They're still learning. And guess what? They're still going to learn. We're going to have matches that we're going to lose. You know, we're going to have matches that we're going to win. There's always going to be mistakes made, but that's part of the process of becoming a mature player. It just takes the time. I do have faith in the squad still, and, you know, until Arsenal gets relegated, which is not going to happen, I'm always going to have faith in these young players.
That'll be the day when the day Arsenal get relegated. I don't even want to think about that day because it's not going to happen. That's why we don't have to worry about it. Neil, coming to you on this next comment. I think we can all agree that Leeds have not only been very poor this season, pre-injuries or mass injuries that they've had. They haven't helped either, of course, but we can only beat the team that's in front of us. That's number one. I'm sure we can all agree on that. But we have to start at some point competing and maybe even beating teams like Liverpool and Manchester City. How far away, in your opinion, are we away from doing something like that? How many years away, how many more transfer windows away do you think we are from potentially competing with the likes of... I'm glad you didn't say Chelsea because we don't like them around here.
I don't think we're like years away from it. Like this whole idea of like we're light years away from the cities and the Liverpools. I think is a little bit far-fetched. At this point, with this team that we have, there you go. With this team that we have, I would say that we're maybe 3 players away from beating the likes of a City and a Spurs. And the reason why I say that is because you already have a young, cohesive team.
Yeah.
And with the additives of maybe a couple experienced players and a ruthless striker, like, we're gonna be there, because we have to face one other fact, that it's been it's been
Brilliant.
it's been a lot of mistakes that hurt us in the back. A lot of missed passes, a lot of loose passing. That's what caused a lot of those, teams that are top of the table to score on us. I mean, the City game was an exception because, again, we didn't have all the players that we signed. We didn't have, the likes of Gabriel and Ben White in the back, and and they would have also had, like, that would have just been their first game if they were playing in that first game. So they now have a run of games together. So it's a more of a gel team. So I would say we're a few signings away from beating those teams. Not years, not years at all. Not many windows. Maybe one or two windows. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the summer transfer window, at least, with the likes of Aubameyang, Lacazette, and a few other players as well that will potentially be leaving, and what we're looking to potentially bring in, it could be another. It feels like every summer Arsenal fans are like, it's going to be the biggest summer yet of transfers. Like every single year, it feels like we're saying that. But it's not like we're just saying it for the sake of saying it. It genuinely feels like, again, this summer we're probably going to need to sign a huge striker and then another really, really big central midfield player, which is,
I think,
never ever cheap.
In January, if we could really get that striker that we want, or if we could get that striker, a striker or two. Yeah, if we get that striker in January, and then go in the summer and focus on the midfield, and maybe one more centre back, I think we're gonna be in some pretty good waters.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree with you more. It's going to be really, really, really interesting, especially with how recruitment was done over the summer with Edu and Arteta in charge. So there was just one other thing that I wanted to touch on very, very quickly. It's never nice to see. I don't know if you guys heard anything about it on the commentary, but the game was stopped at one point. Rob Holding was talking to the fourth official. Some Arsenal players were warming up. They didn't name the players in which that were targeted, but even on a couple of different occasions, Arsenal players were encouraged to not celebrate close to the fans as well because of the incident. I still haven't heard what it was that was said, but apparently a racial slur was used towards an Arsenal player. There's not really too much to really say on it, but I just, Keith, why is this still happening in this day and age? Why? How?
I honestly don't know. I mean, football aside, there's no place for it in society. Full stop. I mean, you cannot discriminate against somebody for literally the life that they're born into, whether it be their sex, the colour of their skin, who they pray to, who they're physically attracted to. It's just, you can't do that. It's just so wrong, and it really gets under my skin. It angers me massively, and I would have hoped that the people who were responsible for this, they could have been pointed out, because they're literally 10 yards away from where they were all stood. Why they not have been pointed out and ejected, or maybe they were, I don't know. But no, I mean, the problem is it's got to stop, but will it ever stop? I don't know.
No, it's not a nice thing to have to listen to, and it's not even being directed at us, and we can see how horrible it is, and it's those players there, they're turning up to do their jobs, put smiles on Arsenal fans or Leeds fans' faces, whatever, and they're being subjected to that sort of disgusting behaviour. So I really do hope that maybe over the next couple of days we hear something from obviously Leeds fans, so hopefully we hear from Leeds on whether or not anything was done. But moving on from sorry, go on, Neil.
Sorry. At that point in time, it was Pepe, I think El Neni and Eddie Nketiah was down on that corner area there warming up. I remember because I saw the camera went there a couple of times.
Yeah.
And, just leading up after that is when they kind of stopped the game for that to happen, man. It's ignorance, but what can you do?
Yeah, it is. It is. So the more clubs do about it, the better, and hopefully it gets cut out sooner rather than later. So people just need to call these people out. Mm-hmm. But moving into the second half, so coming back to you, Keith, to focus on the football again. I was expecting, I'm sure we were all expecting, with the way Arsenal ended the first half, we were in top form at that point, all over Leeds. Leeds didn't really know what to do, very much limited to counter-attacks. What were your, before we get into the Granit Xhaka situation, because it wasn't too soon after the game started again that happened. What were your thoughts on how we started? Were you happy with the way we started? Were you expecting it to be like that?
I was worried that we would go straight off the ball. I mean, the instant start where the ball went back to Ramsdale, he's banged it up down the line, and we've got two corners back to back. I thought, yes, this is perfect. This is exactly what we're looking for. And then somewhere shortly after that, we kind of lost our way, and the tempo dropped. You'd expect it to drop. I know they're not playing as many games as a team in Europe, but the tempo and the intensity was really, really high in that first half, and doesn't matter who you are, you can't keep that amount of intensity up for 90 minutes. So you're gonna have peaks and troughs. It's gonna swing a little bit, and the other team's going to come onto you a little bit. But ultimately, I was pretty disappointed with the second half. I was looking at it as this is a game where we could really, really carve some goal difference up.
Yeah,
and maybe we could have made changes. I don't know. But ultimately, I was pretty disappointed in the second half, and I went off the boil a little bit as I was watching it as well, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It wasn't the second half that I was expecting either. Keith, I'm going to come straight back to you for a third time, and the reason being is I already kind of spoke to Neil a little bit earlier about the Granit Xhaka situation in the first half, and I think we were all full of praise for Granit Xhaka in the first half. If the game had ended at 45 minutes, we would have been happy with his performance. However, senior players, shall we say, are expected to lead by example. And that early on in the second half, had someone have been sent off, it would have changed the whole complexion of the game completely, given how slow we started the second half. What were your thoughts? Because not only did he stand in the way of the free kick, which he could have got a booking for, literally 30 seconds later, he's gone over the top of the ball onto Rafinha's ankle, which in itself, at a bare minimum, probably should have been another bookable offence. Very lucky that VAR didn't actually review it properly. I think it was reviewed, but bit gobsmacked as to why the referee wasn't asked to go and look at the monitor, given his reputation. What did you make of the situation?
Right, I've got so many thoughts here, so I'm going to rattle through. Right, firstly, when he's still on the free kick, we see it done all the time. It's game.
Yeah,
I get that, but then you expect the player to back off a little bit. Once you've got your teammates back in their positions and you've stopped them from taking a quick one, you then back off. But he wouldn't back off, so then there's a little bit of a getting in everyone's face. And yes, he could easily have got a booking for that. Then there's the tackle on Rafinha. To me, that's straight red.
Seen him given?
Yeah, exactly. He's left his foot on him, and especially when you think their young striker got a yellow very shortly after for something that, all right, he was off his feet. But if I was a Leeds fan, I'd have been absolutely raging about that. And we've all been there when we've not felt we've had the rub of the green with certain refereeing decisions. So there's them two. Then I can't even remember what he did get booked. I was taking the free kick slow, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So essentially, he could have got two yellows and a straight red in the second half. But the one thing that I've still not seen a replay of it yet, but there was a point where Thomas Partey gave the ball away with a crossfield pass, and they broke, and it looked very much to me, I don't know who the Leeds player was, but it looked very much to me like Xhaka swung out at him with his foot, like quite high as well. I don't know if this will get picked up in like the Monday Night Football or anything like that. But it's just, like you said, Jake, he's a senior player. He's a former captain, and he's been given lots of chances. And I actually sung his praises this week, saying I think he's actually better than Aubameyang's because he's managed to play himself back into the side for whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas Aubameyang's still in the middle of like spitting his dummy out at the moment. So I've kind of sung his praises a little bit, but in a game like that, he could have cost us. And I was a bit disappointed because, especially after the Rafinha challenge, he should have been off. Like, I mean, Arteta should have got him out of there because it could have left us really short. And then they go pull a goal back, and we've all been there before as Gooners. We've been 3 goals up, someone gets a goal, and then we're under the cosh. So I was not best pleased with Mr. Xhaka.
No, no. You look. Don't get me wrong. Players put stupid challenges in from time to time. Players make stupid decisions where they should take a free kick quicker or whatever the situation may be. But I think the thing that makes it more frustrating, as you quite rightly said, Keith, he's a former captain of Arsenal. He's a current captain of his national side. He's classed as a senior player. Like, I get you've got the dark arts about you when you're experienced and you know what you can and can't get away with, but that is taking it to a whole different extreme altogether. And for some of the good performances that he's put in recently, he got away with it a little bit for me today. And on another day, like you said, Keith, if that's looked at, that challenge slightly differently, he's sent off, the game changes completely. So he's got to be really, really, really careful the way he conducts himself moving forwards.
Granit Xhaka wears a red card cologne.
I love that.
He does. Referees are looking out for him, so...
Right, okay. We are going to speak about the penalty in just a moment. Tony, I want to come to you with a quick question, though. This is a question here. Should Arsenal add a little bit more possession on the third end of the pitch to make scoring goal opportunities easier? So, I think we did that quite well against West Ham, didn't we? We pretty much made camp in their half for 90 minutes, limiting them to sort of... counter-attacks, really. I think everyone wants Arsenal to play like this. That would be that's the way the Liverpools and the Man Cities play. What do you think's stopping Arsenal from being able to do that every single week?
Could very well come down to a question of the tactics again. I know in the very first half, we actually had the higher possession percentage. We were about 51, 52% during the first half. During the second half, we know that for sure changed. We could tell because the performance of the players. The tempo will slow down, which is understandable. We already had a 3-goal lead at that particular point until it was 3-1. But even then, it was still comfortable. That said, I personally don't like when we sort of get to that comfortable cushion where we decide to pull back, because that is it's actually inviting pressure to come on us. 100%, I think that Arteta should have just had the players press and continue to attack. But at the same time, I also understand the need to sort of slow down and not overstress the players, because that's going to wind up leading to more injuries, and that's something that we can't really afford. But on the whole, I would have said maybe it would have been better for us to continue pressing as we were.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do agree. So we've got a couple of other things coming in here with the comments. I think a few people are pretty much agreeing with the Xhaka situation. There was this comment quite here. There's quite a funny one. And then we've also got another comment coming in here from Tom as well. Yeah, he's been roller coaster form of late. So I think with Granit Xhaka, I think had we have bought another midfield player in the summer, which a lot of people thought we were going to do, I don't think Xhaka would still be at the club. And I think in the summer, in the coming summer, Arsenal will buy a new centre midfield player, and he'll be left to rotational duties. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. John, coming to you, mate, on the next sort of incident in the game. When I was watching the game, some of the commentators were saying that it wasn't a penalty. And then when you watch the replay back, like, it's clear as day. There is, I don't know what angle the commentators were watching the game. But first of all, question number one, do you think it was a penalty? Question number two, what on earth was Ben White thinking? Because there wasn't really, it was a tight angle for where the player was. And he would have been better just throwing himself in front of the ball. If he misses it, maybe Ramsdale gets there. You know, he makes at least one world-class save per game. maybe that was his opportunity to make that one world-class save. But did you think it was a penalty? And what do you think was going through Ben White's head when that happened?
Yeah, it was a stonewall penalty. They didn't need to go to. I don't know what the commentators. I don't know who they have commentating the game, but it was a stonewall penalty. And as for Ben White, I think it could be lack of experience. Let's not forget Ben White's still young. You know, he had his first season in the Prem last season with Brighton. Before that, he was with Leeds in the Championship. So he's still young. He's still learning. And you know, if it was Granit Xhaka, I'd say it's stupid because Xhaka always does that. But Ben White's been, I didn't want to sign him. I was a bit angry over the signing, but he's been performing really well and he's looking solid. So you can account for one sloppy rash challenge, maybe because of inexperience. But thankfully, the game was dead and buried by then.
Yeah. As this comment says here, you know, don't go to ground in the area unless you absolutely have to. And the thing is, I don't know what was going through his head. Does anyone else have anything to add on this? Because Ben White's been pretty good for Arsenal.
Just lack of experience, maybe.
I know exactly what was going through his head. The same thing that was going through Odegaard's head. Oh, crap. What did I do?
Go on, Keith.
I'm putting my hand up, guys, like I'm at school. Right. Thing that struck me, it was about 5 minutes before this, him and Rafinha had the little square up. And when you looked in their eyes, Rafinha was furious, and you looked in Ben White's eyes, and he looked a little bit, I don't know, almost not disturbed as such, but it looked like he was a bit bothered by it. And obviously, he spent time at Leeds as well. And I don't know if that ruffled his feathers a little bit, but he'd been absolutely spot on until that point. And it's like the comment says, you don't go to ground in the area. A sliding tackle is an absolute last resort. It's, you know, when there's no other option is when you do a sliding tackle. That's what you teach kids when you coach them, because once you're off your feet and somebody else has an advantage.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm not going to slate him because unlike John, I was absolutely chuffed we got him. He was the one player in the summer I really, really wanted us to get because of his distribution. And, you know, he just made a mistake. We got away with it in the fact that we were already 3 goals up. But, yeah, that's my thoughts on it anyway. I think it was a bit ruffled by Rafinha.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what Tony said earlier on when he was answering one of the comments about, you know, the young side. You know, these players, they go in to make mistakes. They're still learning. It's their first season for some of them at Arsenal. So, you know, we can't expect them to be pulling out minimum 7 out of 10 performances every week and being really, really consistent. They're going to have bad games. They're going to have times where they make awful decisions. It's the only way that they're going to learn and get better. But it felt like it took the goal to really kind of spark the game back into life, really, for both clubs. You know, Leeds, they felt
summarize Ben White's foul in the box. He had a Mustafi moment.
Yeah,
that's all it was.
The less of them, the better. But yeah, it was that goal that sort of took is that incident that helped bring the game back to life. And then ESR came on to score a goal. Odegaard with another fantastic flick in this instance. Neil, what did you make of that goal? That the final goal of the game, because obviously the game got really open at that point, and you know, had the next goal have gone to Leeds, that last 10 minutes would have been squeaky bum time.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, man, like that little nudge, or I don't even call it a nudge or scuff from Odegaard to play the ball onto ESR, and then his finish. This guy has I don't want to like overhype the whole situation. You know, he's a young guy. He has a lot of head in front of him, but he has some finishing of a Dennis Bergkamp. You know, on the one, like he does it without even like thinking about it, and I'm happy to see that. He may not have it all the time. He might have glimpses of it, like today. And with him having such a long road in front of him, he can only get better. So, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing ESR in an Arsenal shirt come the future, and how he's continuing to play. That last goal, that link up between him and Odegaard was sublime.
Yeah, it was exceptional. It's twice now, isn't it? He's come off the bench to score goals. I think he scored 6 goals in his last 8 Premier League games now, which is just phenomenal.
How much did Jack Grealish score?
I don't think it was that many. I don't think he had that much of a good season. Well, there's rumour. We'll talk about Jack on another stream, but there are rumours that he could be signing on a short-term deal at Arsenal for 6 months because of the African Cup of Nations. But what we're going to do, guys, to finish up the show today, we've got a little game that we're going to play with the panellists. Obviously, I know who all of these players are. Feel free to get involved in the chat, and then we might speak about the players individually as well. It could be for good reasons, it could be for bad reasons, but it's an opportunity for you to get involved in the chat. And we've got this one here on the far left. I'm going to give you all 10 seconds to think about who it is, and then we're going to speak about them. So get your comments down in the chat now. Who do you think this player is on the left-hand side? 2 goals, 63% passing accuracy, 5 key passes, 1 out of 2 successful dribbles, and winning 7 out of 15 duels. And I'm going to come to each one of you individually, and then I'll tell you who was right and who was wrong. So, John, starting with you, who do you think this is?
The bad man, it's Martinelli.
Tony?
Yep, that was my first guess, Martinelli.
Neil?
Thierry Henry.
Bring him back. Bring him back.
It's definitely Martinelli, man. Definitely.
Brilliant. Keith, are you gonna go against the rest of the bunch?
I'm not, mate. The goals gives it away, really.
Yeah.
Absolutely. John, mate, what did you think of his performance today? It was Martinelli. What did you think of his performance?
It was magnificent. Not only his goals, but his work rate. He doesn't stop running. He doesn't stop chasing down. He tracks back. He's always grafting. He doesn't stop. No wonder he gets burnt out. Like, we seen him the game before where he was on the touchline and Mikel threw him back on because he just doesn't stop running. His link-up play, he's just brilliant in behind. I said last season to you a lot offline, I was going mad at Mikel for not playing him. I know he had injuries, but even before that, when he was on form, he wasn't being played. But maybe this is why. Maybe it was a bit of man management, feed him in, give him minutes here and there. And now look, it's paid off, but he was man of the match for me.
Man of the match.
And he's adding goals more consistently now.
Yeah, that's it. He is adding more goals. Tony, what did you think of his performance?
That man is literally a living can of Red Bull. He doesn't stop. He never stops as soon as he gets on the pitch. It's just constant going. And it's not just the fact that he's such an effective goal scorer in this particular sense. It's also the fact that he's got such flair. The way that he manages to move the ball up and down the pitch is incredible. He's fantastic. I really do hope that he'll continue to gain more experience and to expand himself as a player here at Arsenal.
And Neil, what do you think?
Listen, man, I just want him to sign a 20-year deal and I would be able to sleep better at night. That's all I want.
And then Keith, any final thoughts, mate?
Potentially generational, this kid. Remember the goal he got against Chelsea? And I know Kante fell over, but he still had to run it in and finish. And then he didn't get a look in for a long time. I was thinking about it earlier. I think Arteta does deserve a huge amount of credit for what he's done with him. Because I was worried. I thought he was, if not on his way out, he was stagnating. He wasn't getting a look in. And Arteta said himself, he's been teaching him to not do everything at 100 miles an hour, to use the gears. And you can see that is evident now. And I said the same thing about ESR last season, could potentially be a generational midfielder. And Gabby's the same. He's in a rich vein of form at the moment, and we just need to keep the vultures away. And I entirely agree with Neil. Get him on a 20-year contract. Just nail him down.
Get it done.
Don't speak to anyone.
Get it done.
Right, okie dokie. So we have got picture number 2, which is 1 assist, 68% passing accuracy, 5 key passes, 1 out of 2 successful dribbles, and 2 successful duels today. Keith, who do you think it is?
I think that could be Mr. Lacazette.
Neil?
I'll say Martin Odegaard.
Tony?
I was going to go with Martin Odegaard too.
John?
Xhaka.
Number 2 is Martin Odegaard.
I thought his passing rate was higher than that.
I thought that as well. I was quite surprised when I saw that. So coming to you first, Keith. What did you make of his performance today?
Absolutely outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say.
You don't have to overcomplicate it. It was honestly brutally outstanding. What about you, Neil?
Listen, man, I like how this is something I'm starting to appreciate about Martin Odegaard. He made his presence felt during the game, and then at moments he just went under the radar, and then he showed his face again and went under the radar. I like that. I actually like that because that way he can, take himself off of other players. The only one regret I have about him today is apparently he didn't have his shooting boots on because he had a few chances he could have buried.
Yeah.
Inside the 18. But, he can't have it all, but really good performance today by Martin.
Absolutely. Tony, what did you think?
Yeah, I'm pretty much going to have to say the exact same thing that the rest of the panel saying. It's not always about scoring the most goals or anything like that. It's just how effective you are actually on the pitch. And this time he has once again proven why Arteta is trusting him to be on the pitch in the position where he's at once again.
Yeah, agreed. And just before I ask John, this is your last chance in the chat, guys, to get your answers in for the final picture on the right-hand side. John, what were your thoughts on Martin Odegaard's performance today?
Brilliant. I think he's all over the midfield. He'll go out wide, passing. Again, even his work rate. When we got him on loan, I didn't want to sign him full-time. I wanted James Maddison, I wasn't happy at all. I was worried, but he's proved me wrong. He's adding goals, assists, he's controlling games. So I think he was brilliant, and he's a joy to watch. And for the 4th goal, I could watch it all night, all over again.
Brilliant, wasn't it? Very, very nice. Very nice. Okay, John, well, look, coming straight back to you on this one, mate. Who do you think is the final picture? 1 assist, 87 passing accuracy, 2 key passes, no successful dribbles out of the 1 attempted, and he won 4 out of 10 duels.
I'm going to go Lacazette, Captain Lacazette.
Tony?
I'm going to go with Xhaka on this one, actually.
Neil?
I agree with John. Lacazette.
And Keith?
Mate, I'm so on the fence on this. Lacazette.
I can tell you that the answer is Lacazette. Well done.
Lacazette. I'm going for Lacazette.
Lacazette. Tony, mate, what were your thoughts on Lacazette's performance today?
Me?
Yeah, I was a little bit gutted that he didn't get. I honestly thought he was going to get at least one into the net today. So I was a little bit gutted. But other than that, I was genuinely still impressed with his performance just because of the fact that, again, this is one of these things where you don't necessarily have to score to be effective on the pitch. And he really is, once again, proving why I personally think that he's a bit more effective than Aubameyang in the position where he's playing right now.
Absolutely. He's definitely justifying his selection at the moment.
Yep.
Neil, what did you make of his performance, mate?
Listen, when Xhaka, and this is after, I know this is way after the fact, but when Xhaka was stripped of captaincy, this is the player that we should have given that captain armband to, straight up. He even he had a goal drought. We all know this, but he was making up for it. He was winning tackles. He was, holding the ball up. But I just think it's good to see him wearing that captain armband, and I just think he had a really tough performance today, even though he didn't score any goals.
Absolutely. And Keith, any thoughts?
He was actually my man of the match, as he was against West Ham on Wednesday. I think it was a difficult situation for him to come in and take the armband off the guy who appears to be one of his best mates in the football.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was right to give him the armband when it was taken off Xhaka, because I've always thought the captain needs to be one of the first 1, 2 or 3 names on the team sheet and not be on the team sheet because you're the captain. And he wasn't quite at that point then. But at this point now, he's absolutely the perfect captain. Personally, I'd like to see us keep him. I thought this a year ago because of what he brings. And, you know, as the guys have all said, it's not just about his goal scoring record, it's about everything else he brings. And he's creating space. Those goals today, the ones particularly from Saka and Martinelli, the space is created by him. He's taking players out of the game, which doesn't always get picked up on the telly. I know the commentators mentioned it, but you get to understand that these are the things that he's doing. And for me, he's man of the match for the last 2 games.
Brilliant. And before I come to John, we are going to shortly wrap the stream up. So if you've got any questions for myself or the panel, get them in the chat right now, and I can put them to the panel before we shut up shop for the evening. But John, mate, what were your thoughts on Lacazette's performance this evening?
Brilliant. He was everywhere. I seen him in our own half. I seen him out wide on the wing, deep. Since the Palace game where he came on and scored to make it 2-2, he's been on it since. And as the lad said, I'd sign him up to a new contract because the way we play, his close control is brilliant. If Aubameyang's on the ball, if he did come back into the team, he gets nudged off and the attack breaks down. Lacazette will hold it up. He'll get in a fight with a centre back, and he's a leader as well. He gets on with all. Smith Rowe and Saka have always come out and praised Lacazette. It's never been Aubameyang or anyone else. But today he was brilliant. Again, he was on it. He deserved the goal, but it's coming. And when he gets one, he'll go on a run.
Yeah, he got a goal the other night, didn't he? But I think he just needs a couple more now to get himself going. Yeah. And then, we might see a better version of Lacazette. I think the one that we've seen in previous years, he hasn't always had the best players around him to suit the system, but these young lads with all the energy that they have and respect they have for him could mean that we see a slightly different...
I think he's more free with Aubameyang out of the team. Before, it'd always be him passing it to Aubameyang passing it back to him. But now I think he's more free. He can drop deep and he's understanding the game more because he's getting on and he knows he can't, get ball. He can't run through. Like, he doesn't have as much pace anymore. But his other game, he's developing brilliantly. So I keep him.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be interesting to see what they do because I think he wants to sign a contract on the basis of knowing that he's going to get minutes. And if we sign a big striker in the summer, I don't think he's going to get as many minutes as he wants. But
let's see how
we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. Right, this question here is a question that could quite literally be a stream on its own. So I want to just do a quick fire answer on this one. Oh. Keith, are you Arteta in or out?
In.
Neil?
Out.
Tony?
In.
John?
Out.
And I'm in.
That's not based off so far. I'm basing it off quickly because people are saying last season if we finish a position higher, that's progress. It's not progress a position higher when you spent 150 million. So for me, it's 4th or he's gone.
And let me also add to that saying that I'm Arsenal winning in, as opposed to it coming down to coaches and stuff like that. But let that be a stream so we can elaborate on our
We might have to do kind of like a mid-season,
like 24-hour special.
Yeah, we might have to do
again,
like a
Christmas special. Let's send the stream on a good. He deserves massive credit. What he's done with Aubameyang, with the performance today and tonight, he deserves massive credit. Whether you want them in or out, all we want is Arsenal to win trophies, and I'm sure he's the same. It's whether he's good enough.
Keith, do you want to answer that one, mate? I think you found that one funniest.
Tom, you're absolute legend. I can't wait to see that. Are they even going to have match of the day? But yeah, they need to. And definitely get Jermaine Jenas on there as well.
Oh, Jermaine, can you imagine? That's pay-per-view right there if you've ever seen it. We've got a comment coming in here from Chippy Boy as well. John, if you could sign one player in January and one player in the summer, who would they be?
For summer, if it's striker, I'd go with Calvert-Lewin. For January, it depends, because it depends on, you could say one position now, but then we could get injuries, and then you need to fulfill midfield, because Xhaka, again, he'll have a couple of good games, or he'll have one good pass like tonight, and then he'll be sloppy or rash or get sent off. So midfield.
Tony, which one player would you buy in January and then the summer?
For summer, probably I would have to go also with what John just said, Calvert-Lewin. I haven't really thought too much about January's transfer window yet, just because I want to say that we're going to do something in January, but there's just a part of me that's saying that we might not, that we really might not be doing anything spectacular in January, so we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Neil?
January, I'll go with Calvert-Lewin, and in the summer, I would going very, very hard for Yves Bissouma.
Okay. And Keith?
I'm literally the opposite of Neil here. Provided Bissouma isn't the sex pest and he hasn't done anything wrong, I'd go with him in January. If he's that sort, then I don't want him anywhere near my club. And I don't think that we'll get a player of DCL's quality in January.
No.
There's no way Everton are going to.
Everton won't, not the season they're having, no.
But I would say in the summer, provided all is well with him, break the bank to get him. I don't see anyone who fits our game better than him, to be honest.
Perfect. Right, I think that is going to about wrap things up for today's stream. I really want to thank everyone for coming along with their comments and watching. Drop a like on the stream, subscribe if you're new around here. I also want to give a massive thank you to the panel, starting with John. Where can they find you, mate?
You can find me on Twitter at JohnJordan2021, and hopefully the next time I'm on with the lads, I should have my own YouTube channel going.
Yes.
So appreciate being on, lads.
Do it.
Tony, thank you very much for coming on, my friend. Where can they find you?
On Twitter, you can find me under Judge Red Allah or Aletris Antonio. I'm a relatively simple individual. That said, I do have a horrendous addiction to Arsenal shirts.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Thank you very much for coming on. And Neil, thank you for coming on as well. Really, really do appreciate it. Where can they find you?
Find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. On Twitter, you can find me as CanonFC. And Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, find me at Neil Dwarka Realtor. And find me on YouTube with Canon FC. Come on, subscribe, like the videos. These guys are always on my channel, so definitely show some support.
Brilliant. And by no means last but not least, Keith, where can they find you, my friend?
Well, you can find me pretty much constantly on Twitter. I tend to just live there mostly. Find me as the Mad Rambling one on there, and you can also find me on YouTube at Mostly Arsenal, which literally does what it says on the tin. I like talking about topical stuff as well as Arsenal, but I sometimes throw some normal real day randomness in there as well. So if that's your sort of thing, check it out. Cheers, Jake, for having us on again, by the way, mate.
Definitely.
Very much appreciated.
Always a pleasure to have you guys on. Massive thank you to everyone in the chat as well. Really, really appreciate the likes and the subs coming in. Do not forget to go down in the description below, find these guys on Twitter and YouTube. Go and follow them on Twitter, subscribe to their YouTube channels. But I suppose we'll probably catch anyone who's interested after the Sunderland game in the Carabao Cup. But for now, we are out.